Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by our Patreon supporters and CoolStuffInc.com. You can find cool stuff in stock every day, and our co-sponsor CardHoarder.com, offering the best inventory prices and delivery of cards for Magic Online. I am Evan Irwin, and we get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, Aaron Cable.
Bonjour.
Ruben Bressler.
What's going on?
I know what you're pouring. I know.
Oh, I have. This is just my Diet Pepsi Wild Cherry that I found at a store near me. Did you want me to? Did you want some?
I paid a criminal amount of money for a 12-pack of that soda. Absolutely criminal.
He's been perusing the black market, the dark web.
It's nowhere.
And I just found this at the CVS, and I sent it to. I said, "Hey Evan, I found this at CVS," and Evan's like, "No, that's not. I don't like the 2-liter bottles." And I'm just like, "Listen, first of all, beggars can't be choosers. Second of all, he was like, it goes flat too quick."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Don't you drink a 2-liter
that's
in
very
3
true.
hours?"
And I say this as somebody who's addicted to soda. My poison has always been Diet Coke, but I can tell the difference between the soda from the can and even the different cans.
Sure.
Like the difference between this can versus the bigger can versus the baby can versus coming from like the bar tap. I get what he's saying.
Diet Coke tall boys. Yeah, no, I get it.
Definitely gets a little bit flatter. Yeah.
And my point was, I obviously appreciate it, but I didn't want Ruben to go through the trouble of like trying to pack it and putting the shipping it and driving out to wherever, because like if you give me a 12-pack of soda, I can make that last for like weeks. I can drag that out. I can ration that stuff.
We sound like actual drug addicts. Like I can make it last.
Yeah, I can do it, y'all. I can make it work.
I used to be able to get by on 1 can, but now I'm up to a 2-3 can a day habit.
Man.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is a slow news week. I'm telling you.
I'll never forget. I love to tell the story of like I was unemployed like 10 years ago, and I'll never forget like money was so tight. I was buying Faygo. Have you ever seen Faygo?
Yeah,
like
sure.
That discount. You can get like a 5-liter bottle of soda.
I've seen an Insane Clown Posse
you had
concert.
to get your fix, and those were dark days.
Sure.
Wow. Well, look, we also kick off with our first pick and giveaway. We have a $50 gift certificate to CoolStuffInc.com right now, up for grabs! !raffle in the chat. Subscribe first to get 2 chances to
that's
win.
Right.
And many people have done so and won, so that's great.
2, like how many liters I have in this bottle that Evan does not have.
And Carrie laughs at me because like when I crack it open, I got to give that smell that.
Sure, just like when you're cracking open a booster pack.
Oh, it's just there's something special.
Another thing I do with fruit snacks is I will open my fruit snack packet and I'll dump up the fruit snacks in my hand, and then there's 1 whiff of fruit snack smell, and I get to go dump, and then throw it away.
Oh yeah, smells are big.
My weirdest thing when it comes to Diet Coke is that I'm very much like the little girl from the movie Signs. You know the movie Signs?
Yeah.
It is not uncommon for me to have like half full Diet Cokes.
Like 30, 30 half-drank Diet Cokes around the house.
And my friends love to joke about it. I stayed with my friends Kate and Aaron out east, and like just after I left, they were like, "So you left like 6 cans of that?" And I was like, "They're contaminated."
My mom's like that.
Or they got cold, or like.
Shane Bass
I'm not too good to drink them hot. Look, if it's there and they're flat, I don't care. It's whatever.
Shane Bass is saying hi from the Philippines.
Anyway, well, thank you so much.
This excellent wild cherry Pepsi talk.
This incredible magic-related information.
Hi.
Okay, so Aaron, tell us a little bit about Tellurian Community College's awesome fundraiser today.
Yeah, so the professor decided to do a bit of a palate cleanse from the last few days because things had been very chaotic and very aggressive and very toxic over the weekend, and he just wanted to kind of move on from that. And I think he also wanted to remind everybody that the Magic community is good and they are capable of doing good things. And so he decided to launch this fundraiser for an organization called the Trans Lifeline, which is a crisis hotline for transgender people that also offers grants to help them, go to school or strike out on their own. And he wasn't really expecting it to go too far. I think he told me in DMs that he would have been happy getting like 2,000. And by the end of the day today, he had raised over $116,000, which is 5% of the Trans Lifeline's annual budget, which we raised in one day. And throughout the day, prominent personalities just donated. I donated
kept adding
sealed sealed copy of Commander's Arsenal. Evan and Cool Stuff donated like a case. People were donating foils and altars and boxes and commander decks, and it just kept going and going and going. And by the end of the day, I think the website even like skipped out at times. Where like
literally brought down the website near the end.
They crashed the website.
Yeah, and by the time it was over $116,000, which is incredible. And we did that, and his mission was accomplished. And there are a lot of people that are going to be able to get help from this organization, and kudos to us for that.
Yep. Stu Summers donated a test card from that was accidentally put into a pack from Return to Ravnica. P. Sully donated an Arabian Nights Mountain, which was great. Of course, very on brand. Lots of folks donated as what they could, basically, and came together in a really delightful way. Every once in a while, the community of Magic, the community of gamers, the community of Twitch streamers, something will come together in a really inspiring way. The last time that something like this that I can recall was when Tanya DePass with the Black Streamers Coalition maybe a month ago, 2 months ago, came together and had their big extravaganza. This is the first time I've really seen it with the Magic community, and it exploded like orders of magnitude bigger than the professor was even hoping for, which is just beautiful.
This reminded me a lot of many years ago, and you can find a video on my channel if you want to go see it. A friend of mine named Richie Prophet had died, and too soon, of course, and we held a memorial tournament at Star City Games in Roanoke for him and his family. The proceeds were going to go to his family and stuff. And man, we started getting donations out of nowhere. And I mean, before it was over, we had almost more donations than people in the tournament. We had hundreds of people in the tournament, complete sets and full art this and like play mats all over the place and sets and boxes and everything. It was amazing. And this felt very similar in that it's just time to pile in and do something awesome, people, because this felt absolutely terrific. He tweets here, "My friends, you came together and raised over $116,000 for Trans Lifeline, an org that has literally saved the lives of friends that I love, and so many more. You did this. You argue about dumb, silly things, but you also rally. You make this world better being in it. Thank you." So that's terrific.
And it is something indelible about the Magic community, which is that, and the gaming community, but I'm going to leave it specifically to the Magic community, which is that we are full of smart, passionate people, and we like to argue and we like to hear our own voices, but we also can come together in ways and share the space.
Right.
And we can understand, first of all, we can accept ideas that maybe perhaps, we can at least entertain ideas that we don't agree with. We can argue and still be friends afterwards.
Right.
And we can come together when there is a message or a cause worth coming together for. The opportunity was here, and Prof put in the groundwork, laid the foundation for something big to be able to happen, and that can't be understated. So well done to the professor. But also, as we all come together and see that we are something greater than the sum of our parts, it is an inspiring thing, and it's nice to have a first pick that is entirely positive, and there's no downside
Before we get to the
at
trash.
Don't worry, the second pick is not. The second pick is awful, and we hate it.
The reason why we needed a palate cleanser.
But right now, I'm living in a world where we haven't discussed anything negative about anything in the world, and that's lovely.
Absolutely, and that is wonderful. The reason we would need something like this is because, as you very well know, have you been listening to this wonderful podcast for the last few weeks, is that we've been freaking out over going to the Gather the Townsfolk over the Walking Dead secret lair. As you may have expected, it's happening just as they told you it was going to happen. Nothing changed whatsoever, as far as I know, about its makeup, creation, the cards it chose, what they did, how it looks.
There was a secret card. We do
Except
have
there was another
Lucille.
card they weren't there to tell you about.
Lucille!
Yeah. Lucille is down in
The
the
barbed
picture.
wire covered baseball bat.
Which is brutal.
Which is, if you look at it, it's really good. Like, it's almost sort of X and Y good. Like, it's super good.
It's not bad.
It's super dope. So, the cards are not bad. And Wizards made this thing, and it's on sale right now. And
Did you see that at 5-0 at a league in Legacy?
Oh,
Sure did.
We're getting there. We're not there yet.
I mean, I don't think that deck has legs, though. Like, to me, that's a
No,
weak deck.
this
it's like when
Greg
the-
Orange won
Yeah,
because
right.
Greg Orange is Greg Orange.
It's
right?
also like when the Yoshiro deck won right after that deck came out, the ninjutsu guy.
The screenshots were funny, though, because it had him
Yeah.
facing, like, an engineered flag, where it was like,
two of them. Two of them.
Yep.
Yeah, it was insane. And that's how his +2/+2 completely offset it, which was amazing. Which was crazy. But, you know, when this is going to happen and continue to happen, there is definitely now a Facebook post set in, you know, now in the anal, the halls of history. The annals, not the
Annals. Annals is the pronunciation.
Annals. Thank you.
The annals of history.
Now, the
he
anal,
says.
I stopped myself, and you did it. You kept going.
All right.
Listen, in the
Well-
halls of history, Jesper Mirfors, who was one of the original art directors of Magic, 2 years ago, had said they used to joke about how gravenly greedy it would be to release cards you can only
Yeah,
get with a high
Jesper.
purchase price bottle. Or yeah, Jesper Mirfors. And we've been through this so many times where it's just like Wizards is squeezing and squeezing and squeezing, and they're not going to stop squeezing.
Did you
until
see the Twitch stream?
Stop buying. Oh yeah, so let's talk about
I
that
did
Twitch
not
stream.
watch the Twitch stream.
Girl.
Oh boy.
In all of the annals of history, I have
all
not.
of the
They keep squeezing.
Annals.
You
Yeah.
know, they wish they had a backdoor because that stream was awkward. Like, there were no mods. Not a mod anywhere. Like, that
Not a
shit
mod
was
to be
garbage.
found.
They just hate us because they ain't us.
I mean, the
Wow.
chat was terrible. No moderation. Everybody
yeah,
there
no
looked-
mods was a
Everyone
choice.
there looked uncomfortable. Aaron
Mm-hmm.
Forsyth looked like he just couldn't have cared less. It was
Yeah.
really awkward, and you
This
had
was
the
like-
it was the shoe guy.
It was so weird.
The shoe guy
was interesting.
Shoe guy was fun.
Yeah.
There's definitely some I believe in Wizards
what,
who like.
what Twitch stream are we talking about?
This
Well,
is-
we're talking
so
about
they
the
did a
daily MTG or weekly
Yeah,
MTG
they-
things.
That's
they
what
do.
I just want to clarify.
They did
it
a stream,
to-
yes, last week in the afternoon sometime. I think it might have been Thursday or Friday.
They do it on Thursdays, yeah.
Thursday, where they were
Yeah.
attempting to. It was pitched as answering the criticism, or
Right.
answering.
They were
the
trying to
feedback.
quell passions.
And the problem I have is it just doesn't. And you know, I'm not saying that they're wrong for feeling this way, but it just doesn't sound like. I feel like people were too far gone at that point where there was nothing you were going to say, you know. And so I think the audience went into it with you know, guns blazing, and more importantly, the people in charge were kind of apathetic to it, like they didn't want to be there either, and that was just a really deadly combination.
I mean, look, I appreciate the corporate line of if we had just wrote this big article first to explain it to you, you wouldn't be pissed off. That wouldn't have worked at all. It would have just made us really upset at the very beginning where we totally understood it versus like slowly coming to the realization that like, wow, we're really adding black bordered cards you can only
Right.
buy this one time during a week from Wizards. And so there was nothing I felt like they were going to do in terms of sort of address or change things.
No.
I felt like a lot of them were incredibly uncomfortable. Like I'm a very empathetic guy, all right? So I can feel what you're feeling. And man,
Right.
I felt like I was like cringing inside of myself sometimes
Yeah.
trying to hear these guys trying to
Yeah.
explain themselves.
It was like watching a comedy performer bomb in some ways. It felt like, first of all, nobody wanted to be there. Second of all, the only person that wanted to be there was the shoe guy, and he had no idea what was going on. Third of all, this felt like it almost felt like a conscious decision, where it reminded me of there was like this is going to be a super deep cut, but there was a scene in The West Wing, like when Alan Alda's Republican character was like made a mistake and then just just kept answering questions until people ran out of questions. And there was no moderation, there was no filter. It was just like stand there until people stop asking questions, and it was just like tiring by the end of it. And that's what it felt like.
Yeah.
It felt like they were just like, all right, you three go out there and just deal with it until they tire themselves out,
Yeah.
and that was supposed to be good enough.
Yeah.
The problem is only 3,000 people were watching the stream, and there's hundreds of thousands of people that play Magic the Gathering.
Or millions.
So
Yeah.
that solution doesn't work here.
Right. I mean, and let's not even touch the fact that The Walking Dead had really bad ratings and all that good stuff.
Well,
it was, you're tying yourself to a franchise, and Hasbro's trying to get their investment back out. I totally get that. And, I've had some conversations with Wizards themselves on, sort of on the DL where I'm like, look, there's a lot of ways we could have solved this. And I don't understand why none of those options were chosen. And what I come to is, either one of two things. One was they print it differently, which is maybe give it, a purple border or something instead of a silver border, because silver border has all that, awful stuff attached to it. So stigma. So, make a purple border, make it, playable in Commander, and that's the only place you can play it. It's clearly not in the Magic world or universe as you know it, so it's separate, but it's more or less equal, and it has no stigma, so you don't have to ask permission or whatever. And then we move on from there. But again, the ship's already sailed, man. All these guys were sitting out there just trying to explain something that they had no power to change.
Exactly.
And now, everyone's mad, and there's nothing they can say to fix that.
Speaking of backdoors, they did give themselves a little bit of an out, kind of by accident, which is that the hologram on the Walking Dead cards is different.
Yes,
little triangle instead of an oval. So technically, the borders are different.
That's all they got
on these cards.
Is the holo
so
stamp.
they could theoretically say all cards with this specific holo stamp are not tournament playable outside of X format.
Right, and they can totally do that.
They could do that.
I don't think that little symbol does enough heavy lifting, but it's also important. I'm glad they did something that was unique, that they could say, look, these cards are totally different.
I also would point out that the IP is irrelevant here.
That's really, because it could be anything.
It could be Game of Thrones, for example. It could be, Sorcerer's Apprentice. It doesn't matter what the IP is. Mm-hmm. The reason why we're excited for Dungeons and Dragons next summer is twofold. One, it's a full set, and two, it's under the same roof. It's under Wizards of the Coast, not just under Hasbro.
Plus, Magic has already moved into D&D.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Like, moving back the other way is not this crazy thing that you would never see in a million years, right?
Right. We've got, hold on, Mythic Odysseys of Theros, right there. Mm-hmm. And I've got the other one somewhere here. Yeah.
And someone, Darzog67 notes that the IP matters to them. And for what it's worth, I understand, it's definitely not a high fantasy IP. But what I meant was them making blackboard cards of any IP. It had been freaking Mega Man, whatever. Something would have been, wow, what are we doing putting X character into Y zone?
It just so happened to be The Walking Dead was the first one to, I can't stack my books back up, was the first one to breach this wall. Right. And we would be upset at whatever it is. It was a very odd choice that was poorly communicated and was not handled well afterwards either. The bottom line is that this thing will not end Magic. No. Aaron, you're right. This will not end Magic.
Right. This isn't the end of the world. There's not fire and brimstone. There was an official statement that came out from the Commander Rules Committee. They're not going to bury the lead. They're not banning the cards from Secret Lair of the Walking Dead.
So that's what opened the floodgates.
Yeah, and that kind of sort of went that extra step of this is happening. There's nothing you can do to stop it.
Yeah. So
they're all
somewhere down the line,
happen.
people got the idea that these cards needed to be banned. I think one of our listeners, Carson, I think he's a mod in the Rules Committee Discord. And he said thousands of people had joined, or hundreds of people had joined in 24 hours, and everybody got it in their heads that these cards needed to be banned for some reason, and they were really waiting to see what the Rules Committee was going to do about it. And then Sheldon made the post and was like, it's not happening, and that really triggered the outrage. If you thought people were mad about The Walking Dead existing, oh no, this was way worse, and it led to Commander's Quarters. Mitch from the Commander's Quarters, who I love, he started churning out these videos, and eventually he comes up with this idea to create a new format called Captain, which is sold as Commander with integrity, which is oh no, when you start throwing around words like ethics and integrity, nothing good
moral
is
high ground.
You start attracting
that is a very loaded word.
Bad audience, and so this starts happening. Captain is this thing. They have a Discord. Suddenly there's a subreddit. There's a Discord channel, and the subreddit, one of the main posts on the subreddit says something to the effect of we're not going to get political here if you happen to be a Nazi, and it literally says don't Nazi up the place, and it was oh no, and that was where it went too far. And then it was then Mitch backed out of it and was I didn't do this, I don't know nothing about this, I'm taking down the Discord. And it happened in the course of 24
hours. It was
it was
wild.
very quickly creation of a format, and then nope.
Yep.
Yep.
And
was
it's
fascinating
very
to
easy.
watch.
This is a very good lesson for anyone who's looking to create a community. We, the three of us, get asked a lot. How do I get started? How do I do this? How do I build a fan base? How does this all happen? One of the biggest things that helped Magic Mike's was very early, serious curation of who was fans of our show. Because at the very beginning, I don't know if you recall this, we had a lot of trolls right there at the very beginning, before we had any mods. We had to get people out when we had like 12 viewers, and but if a lot of people are thirsty for that kind of
Well, I think it's also
attention.
I mean, I think it was also just we're past the point of saying, I'm not getting political or I'm not getting whatever. It's not about being political anymore. It's just
Correct.
good people. Like it's not a left thing, it's not a right thing. You can't say you can play with us if you're a Nazi and you're just quiet about it. You can't have it both ways. Like that is not a stance you can take anymore. You might have been able to get away with it in like 2015 when we were doing the both sides maybe have merit thing, but like in this day and age, like that is not going to fly.
We've moved past that
when
stuff.
You say like we're not going to get political here, no, you need to, because you cannot let things like that slide.
Well, that's also because apathy sides with the oppressor, et cetera, and also the both sides are, I want all of the genocide, I want none of the genocide, and the both sides agreement is, well, how about some genocide?
No.
And it's like, no, that's not okay. That's not how
both
sides
can
work.
I have a little genocide?
That's not how it works.
Yeah.
And so,
Pharmacist Judge had a great point here. You can't create a community on a negative issue.
That's very true. Yeah.
I mean, if you start with toxicity and being upset and mad and roiled up, like that's all you're going to have.
Exactly. And that's what
terrible stuff comes from that.
You're attracting the people who are, feeling like outcasts or who are, mad at
we
the
try
system
not
already.
We try to leave our political input to the pre-show, but this one obviously popped up this week, and also this isn't a political issue. This is literally no Nazis.
Someone said fastest collapse of a format. To which I say, have you seen the standard environment recently? Have you seen
Standard
how quickly
is good recently from what I gather.
Have you seen the grand finals that we're about to talk about here in a second?
I've not.
The grand finals is the 2020 big event, 32 players, $250,000.
Okay, 32 players is not the standard format.
It's not the standard. Well, I mean, it's going to show you what's being played at tier 1, right? Like what are the best decks and what are people playing?
It's an inbred format. It's not gonna.
I understand that.
Keep talking.
Let's not get too mired into the details. The point is, the pros are playing in this giant event for $250,000, and there's a lot of Omnath there. Okay,
sure.
There's a whole bunch, just a giant amount of Omnath, and that's just going to be a thing that we have to understand and get over. And like, how many of these giant events do we have where it's just mirror match on mirror match on mirror match? Like, we've done this so many times, even this year, 2 or 3 times this year. It's just been, here's another long mirror match, here's another fires mirror match, here's another whatever, here's more Uros looking at each other, let's do that for another 30 minutes.
That's a modern, where if I face the mirror, I just concede.
You're just like, I'm out.
I'm like, I do
can't.
not want, I'm sure you're a nice person, but like, I do not want to play the modern ad nauseam mirror. I just won't.
Right.
Yeah, the Forsaken Monument mirror and Mirror Story, by the way, is just no.
I have been
it's
really
just
enjoying
no.
though.
Sounds stupid.
So I've been playing Golo Stacks and Vintage, and I've actually been really enjoying the Stacks mirror, which sounds masochistic, but yeah.
Are you okay? You feeling all right? I enjoy the pain.
It sounds like it grinds
the,
gears.
The distinct misery that is
you really got to work
inflicted.
For it,
Tell you what.
This looks. I mean, there's a lot of 4-color adventures, Gruul adventures, 4-color Omnath.
They took the 2 best decks and just shoved them together. This is the same thing they did with the Urion, Fires, whatever. It was just put everything together. That's the best stuff you can do and run it.
Yeah.
Like
Historic is just a bunch of 4-color, either mid-range with black or Omnath with red.
because the mana's even better. Who knew?
Right, because the mana's even better. I feel like that Standard's in a better place than Historic is.
I mean, I guess.
I feel like Omnath isn't even that good in Standard anymore now that people know how to fight against it. It's still the best, one of the best decks, but the Adventures deck is good. The Gruul Adventures deck has a good matchup against it. Like, there are ways to at least fight against Omnath, whereas in Modern, or not Modern, in Historic, it's like the best thing, not close, in my opinion.
I would note that it got a lot harder to play, and we talked a little bit about this, where
Uro
was honestly easy mode. Like, you could just close your eyes and just throw out Uros and whatever. whatever and go nuts. Now it's a little bit tougher. But that said, it's going to have a really awesome cast of the broadcast team. Maria's back, Day 9, Riley, you got Marshall in there, Becca Scott, Paul Chion, Cedric Phillips, PVDDR, that's pretty awesome.
Nice.
Martin Juza and Reed Duke, Superman himself.
Always happy to see Day.
A lot of the vintage Super League folks that had a lot of practice during that, getting shots at the bigger stage. Obviously, Reed Superman, having him in the catbird seat.
I think he's the only one from the VSL on there.
Nice.
I thought PV did VSL.
Speaking of vintage, Aaron, what's happening in the world of Legacy and Vintage?
They made an announcement today that Eternal Weekend is happening. Finally, that was one of the events that we weren't really sure about. We heard an announcement that it wasn't going to happen in person, but we needed to know if somebody was going to pick it up. And it looks like Wizards is taking over for Card Titan this year. They posted something on the mothership, and $25 gets you that God account where you can play with any card that's been printed, and you can play Legacy or Vintage, which is awesome because card availability is always an issue with these two formats. And so if you've never been able to play Legacy or Vintage and you've always wanted to, this is the perfect time to do it. There's also different time zones, so it's going to take place across 2 weekends. Next weekend is going to be the Legacy weekend. There are 3 events, one on Friday, one on Saturday, and one on Sunday, all starting at different times. So no matter where you live, you can get in on this action. They all have different prizes, different first prizes. You win. Eternal Weekend is known for giving away artwork for whoever wins, and so first place in each one of the what's what I'm looking for?
Sort of each one of the not leagues, kind of
name for
each one of the events.
But each person, there's a different piece of art for each one. And then the next weekend after that is the Vintage weekend. And so I will absolutely be playing in this, and I'm so excited. I want people to join me and do broken things, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, the artwork on this is really cool. Flights. Thank you so much. We appreciate that.
Yeah, I like the idea of spreading it out wider, especially when you don't have the centralized tournament, location, and allowing everybody to play at their own pace.
And it doesn't force you to choose. That was always one of the issues with the Eternal Weekend. Is so let's say you do the Legacy one, and then you end up doing really well, and then you're like, oh God, I can't, I'm now stuck, and I can't. It's 11 rounds, and I can't make it to the Vintage one, and there were times where sometimes you'd have to choose, and it really doesn't feel like that's going to be an issue now.
I mean, it's also really interesting how Wizards seems to be getting more and more into the idea of just give us some money and you can play with any cards you want on Magic Online. Starting next Monday, you can get your account up and running, and it goes all the way through the Wednesday after the event that you signed up for.
And you can actually take this into a league. We used to get God accounts when we played in the Vintage Super League, and you couldn't take those in leagues. You had to stick to the tournament practice room. And so this is a real account that you could do competitive events with. And so, I belong to a really nice Vintage Discord, and whenever there was the PAX event or the Gen Con event, we had a lot of new people in there that were like, hey, new to Vintage, and we loved it. It was great to get some new blood into the format and to see how curious they were. And it's also going to be interesting to see what the metagame looks like, because card availability is a concern, and there's a reason why Eldrazi and Dredge were the most popular decks in paper, because they're the most affordable, but everybody's on the same playing field now. And so I'm really interested to see what people can play when they're not bound by those restraints. If you could play anything you wanted to, what would you play?
Man, this Library of Alexandria on the screen here from Vulcan Baga is just...
it's gorgeous.
Yeah. I love Library of Alexandria so much.
It does look like art from a D&D book, is what I look at it as.
I'll take it. And that Mishra's Workshop, oof. That thing is gorgeous. So, the opportunity does arise. The ability to play any cards you want in Magic Online is a thing that happens more and more often these days, and I love it. And I would not be unhappy with Wizards going to just a straight subscription model for Magic Online. Would you pay $25 a month if you could get literally every card in the system, play whenever you want? Maybe you throw in a couple drafts or a sealed or something in there. I don't know. I'm just spitballing. But, getting a little bit freer with sort of the purse strings, as it were, of being able to play on Magic Online is a good thing. So Wizards is bringing the mystery boosters to Magic Online. They don't have the mystery booster silly cards that they had, the playtest cards that you saw at real events, as you would expect. which is fine. Also, did you know that one of those cards is worth over $120 right now?
I'm still not even sure what a mystery booster is. So
Yeah, well, it was a weird product that had like 1,500 cards in it.
Oh, that was the thing that they, like those weird packs, and Gavin was running around with a briefcase, and you could only play okay,
exactly.
The black pack.
Yeah, so the convention edition, as it were, versus the WPN edition, those had the playtest cards, and those things are now worth lots of money.
Sure.
And honestly, they can't really distribute anymore in the meantime. And the packs that the stores don't have those cards in them. So so
not surprised. Limited print run. Was this like the Eldrazi Sliverstrosity cards and that kind of stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, of course that those are going to be $1 million.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Throat Wolf.
Yeah. They're going to have the mystery booster from tomorrow, when they wrote it, October 7th through next Wednesday. You can enjoy Magic Online version of one of the last year's most exciting ancillary products. These Phantom Drafts are mostly faithful recreations of the retail edition of the product. So you see foils in there instead of the playtest stuff, along with some small tweaks for the Magic Online release, they say. So you have a whole card list here if you want to check that out. But it's kind of neat that I guess we're kind of getting around to it, and they're only doing it for a week on a Phantom basis.
Yeah, I don't know. It's fine. Whatever.
Okay. It's whatever. It's fine. Hey, it's a slow week, y'all. We're covering the bases.
We can go back to talking about soda and backdoors. It's fine.
It's true.
Hey, now. In the history, right?
Yeah, they hate us because they ain't us.
Ruben.
Oh, Jesus.
Aaron, tell us a little bit about Monday Night Magic going on hiatus.
Yeah, so Monday Night Magic is a long-running podcast comprised of Chewy, Squee, and Aaron Lecluse, and they just released episode 699, and in it was a fairly normal show for the most part. You know, they covered some topics they wanted to talk about, and then they mentioned the fact that they're going to be taking, pretty much a hiatus, an indefinite hiatus, and some of the reasons why they're doing it really hit home for me. You know, they were talking about the fact that they've been going through product fatigue where, they're just exhausted by all of the sets coming out and, they can't possibly keep up with it. And quite frankly, they don't want to, which I get completely. They were also talking about how they're exhausted by the community, sort of the outrage cycle, that's exhausting as well. The fact that without a lot of events going on and results to talk about, they feel like there's just slow news weeks like we're going through right now. And they were like, we haven't been interested in the game, to be quite honest. We're running out of things to talk about. We don't feel like we have enough to really bring to the table every week. And so, and you can see it on their faces, which really just crushed me because, these three are normally very, expressive, excited guys. And you can just see like they're exhausted. And, I really feel for them. But, regardless of what happens, getting to 699 episodes of a podcast is huge. And so I left them a little comment and I said, you guys have left an indelible mark on the community, but, we're all feeling it right now. I think when the pandemic first started, I know I've had listeners say this to us, they kind of thought that there'd be like more content where people would be staying home and they'd be streaming more and they'd be pumping out, more podcasts, and that's not happening. Like people are just trying to keep it together right now. And so if you're doing any form of content and you are sticking to any sort of a schedule or any consistency, kudos to you because it is hard out there.
They replied to your comment, it appears here, that said they got one more in us to hit the big 700 next week and go out in style.
Yeah,
so
good.
More power to them. It's difficult to get something going and let alone make it keep going for any amount of time.
Yeah, I mean, the pandemic is going to end a lot of things. It's going to kill a lot of things and change the trajectory of a lot of things. And doing anything when you're being chased by very slow tigers is very difficult. Mm-hmm. We're constantly stressed all the time and there's nothing to run from. And so to, be constantly having your flight or flight response triggered is exhausting, much less trying to create creative content on the internet for an audience. Mm-hmm. And so I empathize. I feel, sad, and I feel not surprised that this is the kind of thing that's happening. All I can say for me is, creating content is like what tells me what day of the week it is. You know what I mean? Like at this point, Magic Mike's is like, oh, it's a Wednesday. Like that is my attitude towards it. Even though I'm playing Magic Arena, but I haven't touched a paper Magic card in months.
Goodness.
Which is hard.
I mean, and part of the reason that, some small part of the reason last week was that, Cool Stuff closed a store.
I saw that.
We had 7 stores in Florida. We have 6 now. And it's just not worth it right now based on sort of how things are set up. And, look, I'm not saying it's all the fault of a secret lair type product.
No.
But money did leave that store that went to secret lairs that used to go to that store. I'm not saying it's a ton. I'm not saying that it kept all the lights on. I'm saying that was a thing that impacted players' spending habits and where they put their money. And those types of things add up. It's 1,000 little cuts, and certainly a lot and a big cut. But at the same time, it's really hard when you look at that stuff. And Wizards saying, well, we're going to turn the money towards us. And after a while, that gets really, I don't know, depressing, I guess is the way to put it. It just gets disheartening.
It's tough to think about Magic without the Gathering.
Yeah.
To me, this show and podcasts like it, and Webcam Commander, and Discords like ours and others are what is the glue that's holding Magic together. It's not Arena. It's not the Super League, not the Super League, the 32-person league, whatever it's called, the Rivals League. There it is.
The Rivals.
It's not that. That's not what's holding Magic together for me. What's holding Magic together for me is the casual formats, Commander, Brawl, the chatter, the passion that people who aren't Pro Tour winners are having. And that's a much different paradigm shift from most of my life.
In the chat, actually, we've talked about doing an Among Us stream. I work with a couple dinosaurs, and so I don't think they've played it yet.
I've played Among Us.
Right.
I have played Among Us
with my children this week. It's been interesting.
I played Among Us.
And
it's super easy to get into a game.
Do it, just the sketch. I guess the only concern I think we have is that it reminds us a lot of when we first started doing the show, we used to do Google Hangouts with our patrons, and that was really hard to schedule because you have to make sure that everybody's on board with it, and then there were so many nights where it would just be us and one other person, and so we're not really sure how we'd organize something like that, but I don't think we're opposed to it.
No, I mean, it's fine. And the game is free. It's incredibly easy to get added to a server that's running.
$5 on Steam, free on your phone.
On your phone, it's 100% free. They show an ad after each round, but whatever, you can get rid of it. It's not a big deal. So I've been playing with my kids this week. It's been fun. You can get yourself to a server just like that. You start a server, tell them the 6-digit code, and everybody's on it before you know it. Really,
I'm
really
orange
cool
with the pumpkin head. Is my usual go-to. I also like the gangster fedora.
I'm the pink one with a crown, which
It's also good.
I have my Marchesa crown right here, so it's not a huge leap.
I mean, I don't know why you want to see us play Among Us. All you have to do is show up here to see Aaron vent every week.
That's true. And definitely check out the pre-show for patrons at $5 or higher if you want to know what's going on.
The pre-show's where things get murdered.
Right.
Things get destroyed. All right, let's move on here to Desperate Ravings.
I was downloading files the whole time.
Goodness gracious. There was a article on CoolStuffInc.com from Zvi Can't that you can read 100% for free.
You're so funny.
Oof. Get on it. I don't charge you for content because that's crappy. Wow. All right, and I can still pay my authors. It's cool.
It's
like a marketing cost. You like that marketing cost? Yeah, so you don't have to pay me for that marketing. I give you that marketing for free. For free.
Yeah, the subscription model for Magic articles is interesting.
Come to CoolStuffInc.com. Enjoy it, all of it. No logins, no $5, $7 a month. What's going on here? What are we doing with our lives? All right,
what is this?
Zvi Can't
2004.
I know, right? Brain burst or something. Why can't we even, Zvi Can't asks? Because one of the things that Zvi did was he wrote a set review of Zendikar Rising, but he had not played with one card before he wrote that review. And he said, Omnath sure looks dumb, but man, these dual lands are great, and yada, yada, yada. And then he went and played with Omnath. He said, I played one game with it. What the hell did you do?
Yep.
It just does everything as we found and as we noted. And it's I kind of hate how I will oftentimes get like, I will run smack into whatever the best thing is going to be for the next 3 months during any sort of preview or any sort of pre-release. During the pre-release for, was it Kaladesh or Aether Revolt? I think it was Kaladesh because it was Smuggler's Copter, right? Smuggler's Copter was in Kaladesh. And I was like, my God, that card's insane. I can't imagine like what's going to happen to Standard. And it's the best thing, right? Yeah, and I played Omnath and I was like, this card is bananas. What is happening? And it's just the best thing.
It's a Siege Rhino. Remember how Siege Rhinos used to travel in packs? Well, what happens when you put a pack of Siege Rhinos in one card? That's what Omnath is, because every Cultivate is a Siege Rhino once you have an Omnath in play. It pays for itself, and then it pays for more of itself, and then it gains you life, and then it domes your opponent. It's just over and over and over and over again. Right. It's very oppressive. It's even fine in just like play. It's just gain 4 life every turn on a 4/4. It's also just fine.
And then if you got a fetch land or some other thing that puts more lands into play, you start to bolt them. And you don't just hit their face, it hits all of their planeswalkers too. Like, it's insane. Yep. And he mentioned here that companions, we didn't need to play with companions to know they were bananas. We certainly were affirmed of that craziness once we got to play with them. That took 0 games. Omnath, I had to play 1 game with it before I went, have you read everything this card does?
Right.
It does everything. It's so crazy. Stupid. And so here we are. They banned Uro, and we're looking at days worth of mirror matches coming into our $250,000 event this weekend. And he goes in depth, as Zvi is normal, is wont to do, where he talks about how the card is good and how it has no downside and what they've done lately and how Wizards' design has gotten just weird, I guess is a way to put it. It's gotten super power, not too power creepy, because what Wizards will always throw at you is said, we're not making Moxes, we're not making Black Lotuses. I get that, but have you seen this creature? It's
been weirdly power creepy away from spells and towards creatures.
Oh yeah.
In that Omnath replaces itself, and so you're down a card whenever you try to deal with it, and if you don't deal with it, then it just buries you. Very similar to how Uro is like a late game card that you can't effectively deal with under traditional means either. Like, even if you spike it on its way to the graveyard, you're still giving up a card for them to gain 3 life and draw a card and possibly make a land drop. Like, you're still coming out behind even if you have the good thing. Like, even if I red cap melee your Omnath, cool, I paid 1 mana to kill your 4 mana 4/4, but you still drew a card, you still get the advantage out of it, and I'm still behind on resources.
There's been many games recently where I've played, just like a more of a rogue deck or a silly deck or just something that tries something different, and I run them out of resources and they top deck an Omnath, and then wish lets them top deck something else, and they get the giant out there, and then you just get run over with the
escape
advantage.
To the Wilds or a Genesis Ultimatum. Like, the whole deck is designed to top deck. You can't run that deck out of cards.
Right.
Is the other thing. So.
But it did come from the world of Zendikar.
Also, I've never beaten an Ugin in my life.
No, you don't beat Ugin. You don't beat Ugin. That's a thing that does happen. Even in Historic, you do not beat Ugin. I love it when people actually let me keep him. I'm like, okay. And then they die 3 turns later. You don't beat that card ever. But because it was from Zendikar Rising, we also have a odds and ends article from Mark Rosewater, who talked about the designs of Zendikar Rising, and he had kind of a mailbag going out this week.
And rare spawn appeared, shiny.
Who'd have thunk? Right there is our own Aaron Campbell on Wizards.com asking questions. Aaron, you want to talk a little bit about this interaction?
So I had been very
Mark
vocal.
Rosewater had time this week for butt.
Bitch, I got time. So I had been very vocal about the fact that I didn't feel like Zendikar Rising is a Zendikar set. I felt like it's certainly a good set. It's a fine set. The cards are certainly not bad, but I just felt like it was lacking in certain areas that, most of us would think would classify it as a Zendikar set. And so, I tried to massage the question to be as respectful as possible. I'm not going to pop off on Twitter like some of you do. And then some of the things you say tomorrow just blow my mind sometimes. Where it's like, do you know who you're talking to? Like, I would never. So I took a minute to kind of gather my thoughts. You have to get your question into one tweet. And so I said something to the effect of in 2016, when you were doing your Battle for Zendikar retrospective, you said that you kind of missed out on some of the things that people really wanted to see. And, you've given us, you say that you're giving us these things, but then there's party, which we've never had before, and then there's no traps and there's no quests and there's no things like that. Do you feel that you accomplished this? And he went into great detail and he explained. I do appreciate the transparency that he showed me, where he talked about the fact that they made this list and very early on they sort of decided like what the things were that people really loved about Zendikar, including the full art lands which they gave us. And then he was like, creature lands or man lands, we wanted to do that, and here's why it was scrapped. And then he was like, we gave you landfall, we gave you kicker, we gave you, we wanted to incorporate the traps in the quest, and here's why we didn't. And so it's very humbling. I mean, how many people can say they've been gathered up by Mark Rosewater? But I thought it was very amusing. I was flattered that he picked my question. I appreciate that he touched on the things that he did. It didn't really move the needle very much. I still kind of feel the way that I do, but I do appreciate that he let me in and let us in a little bit in terms of his what goes on upstairs and how we got here. And I just enjoyed it. It was just nice to see my tweet on the page.
It didn't move the needle for Aaron Campbell? Really. My God,
here's the thing.
I can't believe it.
Here's the thing about debates online. When I'm commenting on somebody's angry tweet, my job isn't to change your opinion, writer of said tweet. It's to change the opinion of whoever's reading the comments. And I think that that's what Mark Rosewater was going for. He's never going to convince Aaron Campbell that Zendikar Rising is a Zendikar set.
Nope, not
He's
once.
going for your vote. He's trying to convince you.
Yeah.
He's looking right at the camera, like Jim from The Office, and saying, folks at home, here's why this is a Zendikar set. 1, 2, 3, we tried 4, 5, 6, we tried 7, 8, and here's why she's wrong. And then Aaron is like, I don't buy it. And then the rest of you at home can make a decision for yourselves.
There you go. Couldn't sway Aaron. Who knew?
Yeah.
All right.
She doesn't get out of bed for anything less than Dredge 12, so who cares?
Look,
well, now I'm playing workshops, so I don't get out of bed for
true.
An opening hand with Mishra's workshop, some kind of sphere effect, and maybe a wasteland.
Right.
I will accept a turn 1 Golos, but
yes. There was going to be a new Commander Legends set sooner than later, and now it's going to be later.
Yeah.
And honestly, that actually gives us a couple weeks to breathe without infinite previews of another set, which is kind of nice. But they have officially pushed back the release to November 20th. 2020, which is quite a bit. Particularly, and also note that Zendikar bundles, I don't know if they even exist right now. If they do, congratulations, because I have not really seen one yet. We haven't even got them in at Cool Stuff yet because they haven't sent much. And 50% of the entire order of Zendikar Rising was sliced so they could make that magical release date and then later push back the rest of it. So tinfoil hat, they did it for earnings reasons. Not tinfoil hat, everything's terrible, and that just got swept in.
Yeah,
So
I would
figure out which one you want to
way.
believe. But well, and again, if you release it into the fourth quarter, it's also compounded with other things in the fourth quarter, which makes your fourth quarter look amazing. Also makes your third quarter look bad. There's a whole variety of corporate intrigue going on there.
I'm not too worried about which quarter looks good.
It's whatever. Not at this level, essentially. But do note that Commander Legends isn't coming out until later, which means the previews for the set won't start until October 26th. So we have about 19 days or so before we start seeing those cards, which will be sweet.
Do we have a preview in your inbox that you just have ignored yet?
Maybe. It's absolutely
we'll find out
possible.
48 hours before,
right.
maybe.
Yeah. When Wizards publishes the list and we're on it, and I go, oh my God, I missed it.
Oh, I should check my trash bin.
Goodness gracious. Well, look, speaking of products that were pushed back, Jumpstart apparently is reaching European tables on the 16th of October.
Welcome to the rest of the world.
That's great. Congratulations. The set's dope. I really enjoyed playing
amazing.
I hated
Jumpstart.
Jumpstart's
Really?
amazing.
Yeah.
Who cares, Aaron? Okay.
Really?
All right.
Jumpstart is the best thing Magic
I
came
think
out
I
with
just had
this year.
bad combinations. My boyfriend and I did we did these little pre-releases for 2, and I had I had Spooky Dogs. That was the 2 I had, and he had Walls and Rainbows, and I just felt like I had no chance against his deck, and I was like, this is infuriating. And so I'm pretty sure the set itself is fine, but the combos we had were just ridiculous.
Sure, that is the That is exactly the kind of thing that I would expect you to say about a whole set. It's the one time I played it.
I played
fun.
these two together. It was total trash. Set is garbage. You cannot change my mind on this. Where's my traps? I don't understand it. Get out of here. Go on.
But for my money, I feel like Jumpstart is the best set that Magic came out with this year in terms of introducing new players to the game, giving something that's pick up and play and easy. Like
so good,
man. If only this had come out in a time when people could go into game stores, it would have made so much money. Oh my god.
I'm just telling you, it's one of those ideas that I cannot get over. It breaks my heart that it had to be sort of released when it was. I hope it's done well enough, regardless, for them to be enthused to making more of them. Because God, it's a great idea. It's such a great idea. Absolutely crazy.
Hopefully you'll get a couple worth playing.
Well, speaking of potentially great ideas, there is a group that I believe this is a Japanese group.
This is
called SuperGroupies.
Holy cow!
Yeah. SuperGroupies is making Magic watches and backpacks, like leather backpacks, really nice backpacks.
It's really nice. 23,800 yen. What's the translation? What's the conversion on that?
$230 or so.
Really?
Normally you move the decimal too, and that's kind of the best.
I have a friend that's kind of I don't know what the term is, but he's a watch aficionado, and like he'll
$225.
He'll go like retail shopping and just take pictures like these gorgeous, retail therapy. He'll take these pictures of these gorgeous watches, and there's definitely an audience for this. I haven't worn a watch in ages, but if I did, these are beautiful.
Time is meaningless, but it's also an art piece.
Yep.
So this is the kind of thing that is shocking to me that hasn't been made before. Magic players have a ton of disposable income.
Yeah.
Give them nice things.
These are nice.
And especially right. They're gonna wear their shorts and their t-shirts, but they're also gonna wear a nice backpack.
They call them body bags, which is maybe a
put them in a body bag.
Goodness gracious!
But yes, I mean great bags, great watches. I think that this is a home run. This is such a smart idea.
Yeah.
Particularly, and it was one of the things I mentioned in the pre-show was the watch market, particularly the sort of the expensive watch market, has completely recovered in terms of the economy. Like they have totally come back. They have sales just as good, if not better, than a year ago.
Just because rich people are fine.
Yeah, because people who can afford stuff like this have no problems buying more stuff like this. This bag with the leather embossing is
so
dope.
Good.
It is super nice. So yeah, that's what they're making, and I have no idea how to get it overseas, or even if you can get it overseas.
I'll look
quite
forward
frankly,
to a review on the Professor's channel.
Sure. If they want to send us some watches, we would be happy to chitter chat about Magic watches.
I will make the time to wear a watch.
We'll make a special, unique video just for that.
Send me that red watch. Get Aaron the Death Watch.
Give me a body bag. I would love to test out the body bag.
Aaron's watch doesn't tell time; it just counts down.
I mean, they make all sorts of stuff for Bloodborne and Fire Emblem.
I see that. Thank you, MTG Effect.
Thank you, MTG Effect. We appreciate that. But yeah, so we have options for new different clothing, options for accessories. That's really awesome.
It's great. It's so smart.
It is very, very smart. Is there anything else you guys want to touch on before we move on?
Yeah, I was a little bummed the other day. I've made no secret of the fact that I came from World of Warcraft. I spent 10 years playing WoW, raiding pretty seriously, and so like a lot of people, I was really looking forward to Shadowlands, the new expansion, and the official World of Warcraft Twitter account announced on October 1st that they are pushing back the release of the game. They're saying that we're still in the process of determining the right new date to launch. We feel it was important to let you know. This was incredibly difficult as we're eager to get the expansion into your hands. We've made significant progress, but it's funny because it seems like looking at the replies here, people were really understanding about this, and they were like, if this is what it takes for you to get the game right, and if you're thinking enough of us to do this, and presumably you're taking care of your staff, because Lord knows we've seen lots of articles of game companies putting their staff through the ringer to hit these impossible deadlines, and so if it means that people are being treated better and the game's going to turn out better, people seem to really support that. And it was just like a little bit of a bummer though, because the expansion looks sweet. So you're just kind of tempering that with like, oh, this looks great, but we understand.
You only get one chance to release it though.
Yeah, and anybody who's played World of Warcraft knows if you've ever been there on like a release day, it's a mess. And so we're all kind of remembering that and going, okay, valid point.
A delayed game is delayed for a few months. A bad game is bad forever.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So this is the No Man's Sky problem. I've heard that No Man's Sky now is great.
Yes.
It's amazing. The problem was that it had such bad PR right when it got released because they didn't do all the things that they said they were going to do at release.
Right.
But now it's great.
Yeah. Absolutely incredible. So, you only get a chance to release something once, and if it stinks, whatever. But you also have this crunch problem that's prevalent in the industry where CD Projekt Red suddenly, who used to be like, the no crunch company, right? We don't do that here. We'll delay the games. They've delayed Cyberpunk 2 or 3 times now. Like, if you said I couldn't get Cyberpunk until December or January, but you don't have to make these people miss their families, I would be okay with that. We live in 2020. We can have some compassion here. Yeah. It's all right. But then they're like, well, the crunch was necessary. No, it wasn't. It was only necessary if you deemed it necessary. Yeah. Everyone else could wait if need be. It's all right. Because again, that Cyberpunk only comes out one time, y'all. Don't screw it up.
I want to briefly touch on Channel Fireball adding Pokemon trading card game content to their website. Of course, they sell Pokemon cards. They're a card game retailer.
Well, they do now. They just started doing that.
Right. Yes. And it
as I understand it anyway.
It certainly makes sense for them to add to their stable of writers to have competitive Pokemon players as well. So if you're interested in that particular card game, they appear to have 3 or more authors just starting up this week. So check that out.
There you go. Well, you can also find Pokemon at coolstuffinc.com, including
Pokemon. Wait, do you have Pokemon content?
We do not have Pokemon content, but we do have Pokemon.
That's what I'm saying.
We have Pokemon cards and sealed and all that good stuff.
That's
if you're interested. So, all right, cool. I'm personally pumped for the Legends of Runeterra expansion. That game is dope.
It looks like that game is. It's tough to have the second push, right?
Right.
Most games die after about 2 years.
Right.
This one looks like it's going to keep chugging along. They're changing like the things that aren't working.
Right.
They're changing how sets come out. They took a lot of input from the community. It seems like Legends of Runeterra is like where you want to be if you're trying to get in on the ground floor of a trading card game.
And because they don't have the corporate pressures, they're super giving in terms of their rewards. Like you spend some time on Runeterra, they will give you plenty of cards back so you can play some more if you want to.
Yeah, it does help that they didn't need to release any new games for a decade. So that they can put a bunch of focus onto Legends.
And they could also hire like Magic R&D people to work on it and stuff. So like they've done good things. They kind of fell into I don't know if I call it a trap, but certainly a trope of online card games, which is they have a mechanic that makes random cards for you.
Sure.
And that's so, Hearthstone-y at this point.
Sure, man. Whatever.
It's a tool in the toolbox. I get it. It's fine.
Great artist steal. Do what you want.
There you go. All right. So let's turn the corner here to the finisher. We are less than a month from Election Day, and debate season is here. Tonight, the vice presidential candidates in the U.S. faced off at a medically
recommended.
Yes.
Ruben, show me your booty.
Oh, Lord.
There it is.
Sticker.
I have my sticker right here.
I've requested my ballot. I'm waiting on it. Tonight, the vice presidential candidates faced off at a medically recommended distance, and last week, memorably, the presidential candidates for the highest honor in the land faced off too. Now, I'm a master debater myself. Thank you, Ruben. And I know my co-hosts are as well.
Yeah.
So tell me.
21 times a month.
All right, in the annals of history. So tell me, if you were running for president of Magic the Gathering, what is your opening statement, Ruben?
My fellow Arena Americans, my running mate and I are the best chance for the position to run this, or are the best choice for the position to run this great program of ours. We are fervent, we're passionate, and our opponents are ill-equipped for the position. Vote Bressler Embercleave 2020.
Goodness gracious. Aaron?
Well, my fellow Moto-Americans, my opponent says that they will return Magic Online to glory. But if you want someone who's going to return anything to anywhere, you want my running mate and me. Because we're willing to make the hard choices, the right decisions, and the sacrifices you need from your leadership. Vote Campbell Dread Return 2020.
That's right. Coming back. My fellow effing Americans, our nation, our world, our multiverse is in interesting times. Times that need strong leadership. Times that require us to come together, to make haste and trample and shroud. Swinging into the red zone for everyone. Irwin Solifuge, 2020. That's right.
Get that military experience from the captain.
There you go. Captain Tickles himself, and that ends another live episode of Magic Mike's. Thanks for joining us here to discuss all things Magic. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Ruben.
Thank you. And you have the entire outro to link to tell me who you want to see rated. I've got a name pasted, but tell me who you'd like to see.
Please do. All right, move to our final slide. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsor, CardHoarder.com, my co-hosts, Aaron Campbell and Ruben Bressler. You guys for watching and listening. I hope you support us at patreon.com/magicmics. Please follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online on our Discord, twitch.tv at Magic Mics, on Twitter at Magic Mics Cast, our Magic Mics subreddit, and like the Magic Mics page on Facebook. Talk to us privately at magicmicspodcast@gmail.com. Follow the audio-only podcast at magicmicspodcast.libsyn.com, or find us on iTunes, or join us here next week. Same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mics. Good night, everybody.